Hello everyone and welcome to yet another very late review of The Walking Dead on this channel. As you can see from my surroundings, I haven't moved out yet. I'm still living with my mum and dad and filming this in the garage, and basically, you might remember I said in a community post I was going to move in with a friend and I could record more, blah blah blah, but basically it just wasn't the right time to move out. I'm trying to sort out a childcare arrangement for my daughter, and I've got divorce proceedings landing at my door very soon, so yeah, it's a bit of a shit time to move as well, so I just thought let's just leave that for now. And because of all the stuff that's going on, I've sort of put YouTube on the back burner a bit, which I know it has been on the back burner for the last 6 months, but apologies, these last 6 months have just been very stressful and sort of all over the place for me. So again, apologies that again you've had to wait a long time for this video, but hopefully, I don't know what I was going to say. Fantastic. But anyway, in this video I'm going to be covering episode 9 and 10 of season 10 of The Walking Dead. There will be spoilers as usual, you're used to that by now, so let's crack on. I'm sure you've noticed that since Angela Kang took over as the showrunner, I've been very positive about The Walking Dead on this channel, much to the dismay of Scotty G. However, despite how good I do think The Walking Dead has been since Angela Kang took over, this episode was very disappointing for me. If you did watch my very long review of The Walking Dead 10A, you might remember that I was very underwhelmed by how it ended with the cave. I basically felt that it was just setting up a sort of cliffhanger ending and asking the question, oh, how will our protagonists escape these walkers? Well, the same way they've done for the last 10 seasons. So it didn't really for me appeal to me, to be honest, because I just thought, well, we know they're going to get out. This is kind of a dumb ending. However, when I watched the trailer for the second half of season 10, I have to admit I did get a bit hyped for this setting, because I realised that if done correctly, the cave could be a very eerie and scary location for our protagonist to deal with. And I imagine these scenarios where perhaps our protagonist would be being chased by walkers and whisperers, and they'd all have to get split up, and then they might be trapped and running out of supplies. And I just thought, yeah, actually, if this is done well, this could be quite a cool set piece. And unfortunately, it just never really hit those highs, to be honest. Now, that's not to say that I thought this episode was absolutely shite. There were some good bits about it. I mean, I have to admit I did have a heart-in-mouth moment when Jerry was climbing through the crawl space and there were walkers sort of gnawing at his boots and at his feet, because I like Jerry, we all like Jerry, and for a moment I thought, well, maybe he's going to die, because you would expect someone to have died in this situation, but he didn't, and which is good because I like him. But yeah, that was the only really sort of moment that had me on edge throughout the episode. And I don't know if this was just because of the device that I watched it on, because I watched it on my laptop, but I really struggled to see what the hell was going on in some of the action sequences. Now, I know it's a cave. Caves are dark, so it makes sense that it's dark, but for me, yeah, it was just too dark. I had to keep rewinding, because I couldn't really see what was going on. And also, at the start of the episode, I couldn't really hear what the characters were saying to one another over the horde of walkers, and I think this was an intentional design choice, and to sort of make you realise how loud the walkers were and how big their numbers were, but it was just kind of irritating to watch and trying to listen to what Carol and Daryl were shouting to one another. Why can't I say one another today? One another, and yeah, not hearing what they said. So they're two minor sort of bugbears that I had with this episode. Anyway, those minor complaints aside, I'm going to talk about what for me was the biggest issue with this episode, and that's Carol herself. Carol, what the hell were you doing? Now, I follow The Walking Dead's Reddit page, and I've seen a couple of posts of people saying that we should sort of defend Carol because she's having a hard time, and why are we so quick to attack characters when they make mistakes, and so on and so forth. But I don't really agree with that, because personally, I think that'd be quite hypocritical if I was to defend Carol, especially when you look at how I've criticised other characters for making stupid mistakes in the past, such as when Daryl punched Negan in the face. You know, you must have heard about how stupid I thought that was, and I went on many rants about how dumb Daryl was as a person then, but he's kind of changed and I like him again. Whereas Carol just keeps making these stupid decisions and I can't defend it. I mean, if she comes out and changes and does something that warrants me liking her again, fair enough. But yeah, she was just an absolute idiot this episode, and she really pissed me off, to be honest. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, or you might not remember because it was a couple of weeks ago, basically what happens towards the end of this episode is our protagonists find an exit to the cave, and they're carefully moving away the debris and trying to get through the exit. And at this point, Carol decides that she's going to run off on her own and use some dynamite to blow up Alpha's herd. Now, not only does this put Daryl in danger because he has to go chase her, and there's the potential that he could be attacked by walkers or the Whisperers or just fall down the cave and die somewhere whilst doing this, it also ends up with Magna and Connie getting crushed. Nice one, Carol, you twat. And what really frustrates me about this is that earlier in the episode, Carol and Daryl actually have a heart-to-heart, and Daryl says to her, you know, you need to start thinking more about your actions when it comes to Alpha and stop making these rash decisions, and she says, oh yeah, I will, and then she just runs off and does it anyway. Now, I know that characters on The Walking Dead aren't perfect, they all make mistakes. I mean, look at the stuff Daryl's done, and even Rick, who the protagonist for much of the show, he made some decisions that really made me dislike him, but Carol just keeps doing it on a regular basis, and I'm finding it really hard to like her. It seems that since the sort of All Out War arc, she's become a bit of a dick, and there is only sort of a brief period where I've actually liked her in the last 3-4 seasons. I mean, how many times can you defend a character for doing things like this? Let's not forget that she also tried to shoot Alpha at the border not too long ago, and it was only because Daryl moved the gun that it didn't hit Alpha, and the war potentially would have broken out because of it. So yeah, she just isn't thinking and keeps putting other people in danger, and it's really pissing me off. And for me, her latest error in judgment might be one of the dumbest character decisions that have happened on the show, because, I mean, as much as I criticise Daryl for punching Negan, Daryl wasn't to know that Negan was going to bash Glenn's head in when he did it, but what did Carol expect from blowing up a cave with dynamite? The characters previously said to her, they commented on how they needed to remove stuff carefully from the exit in case it collapsed, and she just decides, yeah, I'll blow the place up. Why? You've been told it's a fragile environment and that it could collapse at any time, but you think that you're going to blow it up and it will all be fine. And what also infuriates me is that I feel if Carol had just spoken to Daryl and said, look, I'm going to take care of Alpha's horde, they could have either have let everyone escape first and then blown it up, or I'm sure Daryl would have just tagged along and helped her if he knew that he couldn't change her mind anyway. But instead, she does what too many Walking Dead characters have done in the past, and just not tell people about stuff they're going to do and run off and do stupid stuff, and it creates artificial drama by characters acting dumb. And The Walking Dead has been better than this lately, so yeah, I didn't enjoy this. I didn't like this decision at all. Yeah, so because of Carol's selfish actions, we now have two characters in Magna and Connie being potentially dead. And I say potentially because I don't think they're dead, because it didn't show them getting killed, and we know in The Walking Dead, unless you see them dead, they are dead. So yeah, I think they're both alive, and I really hope they are, because Connie has been one of my favourite characters since she was introduced on the show, and Magna's alright as well, I suppose. I don't really care too much about her, but killing off Connie is unforgivable, Carol, in my opinion. And also, whilst I'm talking about the whole cave scenario, this is something that you probably won't hear me say much about The Walking Dead, because I usually complain that, well, I have done in the past, that The Walking Dead's pacing is too slow, but if anything, I felt they escaped the cave too quickly. I would have liked to seen this play out over a couple of episodes. Maybe they run out of food, maybe Carol's claustrophobia gets the better of her, and can you imagine the paranoia if they're all there hungry and they can't see, and they've got the Whisperers and the Undead taunting them, and they all have to basically try and survive as best they can. Maybe one of them gets bit in the cave and they don't want them to turn. But yeah, I just felt that it was over way too quick for having something be set up as the cliffhanger for the mid-season and then come back and then just have it resolved in one episode. I know they have to go back and find Magna and Connie, but I'd like to see them spend more time in the cave. I felt it was too rushed, and again, yeah, that's not something you'll hear me say about The Walking Dead much, to be honest. So it's a bit of a strange one, really. Like I said, after watching season 10A, I didn't really give a shit about the cave scenario. Then I watched the trailer and I thought this could be good. But then after watching the premiere, I just felt disappointed again. So let me know what you thought about it. I just thought it could have been done a lot better. Aside from the cave shenanigans, we spent a bit of time with Negan and Alpha, and Negan basically outs Gamma as a spy, which I felt was kind of a dick move, to be honest. And yeah, I'm not sure what Negan's goal is here. I don't know whether he thinks that Gamma is necessary collateral for him to get into Alpha's good books, and then he can use that position to help our protagonist, or if he is just a dick and genuinely wants to be part of the Whisperers now and feels that throwing someone else under the bus is the best way to sort of get himself in a higher position. I don't know, but yeah, it was a bit of a dick move, I think, to be honest. And also the Alpha and Negan sex scene was just disgusting and weird. And now I don't really know how to explain this because this is quite a personal opinion of mine, but I don't know, I never really saw Alpha as like a sexual being. I just felt that she wasn't really ever concerned about sex, and that to her it was kind of beneath her, if that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say? I just never saw her as someone who had these needs, and to see her have sex with Negan I just felt was really weird. But perhaps in a way this makes her more human, because that's what humans do. But yeah, I don't know, I just found it odd. I never felt that Alpha was the type to be interested in sex and relationships and stuff like that. I mean, obviously it's probably not going to lead into anything, it might just be just sex, but yeah, I don't know, it was weird. I don't really know how to explain it, but I just never felt that this was something that Alpha would do. And also, the fact that she kept her mask on, ugh, yeah, that was disgusting. Like, I get you want sex, Negan, but I personally would not have been able to have sex with someone who was wearing dead skin, but there you go. People have weird fetishes, I guess. So yeah, disappointing start in my mind to this half a season, but let's move on to the next episode, which I felt was a lot better. So, episode 10, which is not a bad episode, although it does have some dumb moments, such as Laura's death, which I will talk about a bit later, but yeah, on the whole, I rather enjoyed it. Now, this episode begins with Gamma turning up at Alexandria, with her being interrogated by Gabe and Rosita, and she says that their friends are stuck in a cave and they have to find them. Now, if you watched my video about the mid-season trailer, I felt that this would sort of play out concurrently whilst our protagonists were still in the cave, so then that Gabe and Rosita would have to help them out, but it turns out by this point the majority of them are already out, so I can't really say it's disappointing because it's just that it didn't go the way I thought it would, so I can't really complain about it. But yeah, I guess I would have had rather seen sort of Gamma approach Rosita and Gabe whilst they were all still in the cave, and then they go out and try and save them, and it's this big sort of group effort to get everyone out, rather than her saying that and they'd already escaped anyway. Not that she knew, but there you go. So Gamma is taken to the cell, and Gabe takes it upon himself to interrogate her. And I have to say, I love how dark Gabe's character has become of late. I mean, we saw flashes of it in past seasons, such as when he slaughtered people when Rick attacked one of the Saviour's outposts, and he started quoting the Bible verse, and it was like this badass priest. And we've also seen it when he was sort of taking Negan's confession, and you know, he wasn't fearful or scared of him or anything, and yeah, I like how fearless he's become, really. It's a far cry from the dude who was introduced crying on a rock all those years ago. And I especially love the moment when Gamma said to him, "Why don't you ask your God what to do with me?" And he says, "I've spoken to God and God told me to hang you." And I was like, wow. I mean, I know there's a lot of violent shit in the Old Testament, but I thought priests were all about love and kindness and touching kids. Anyway, it's kind of frightening now that Gabe is actually using his religious beliefs to sort of back up his violent tendencies, but as frightening as it is, I love seeing it. Later on in the episode, he mentions how he can break the Whisperers down and everyone else can, and if you have to, then rip off their nails and pull teeth and sort of full torture mode. And yeah, as you can understand, Rosita's a bit freaked out by this, but yeah, just give me more of this Gabe. I love watching it. And I don't know whether because of this it might cause some more cracks in Rosita and Gabe's relationship. Personally, I don't really think the two are that well suited anyway. All they seem to do is sort of argue and have petty fights with one another, so yeah, maybe this will cause Rosita to think twice about being with him. In terms of Rosita herself, she's actually been given a fair bit to do this season compared to previous seasons, and once again she's given a significant role in this episode as she has to fight off Beta. And Beta is just like Nemesis in Resident Evil, he just refuses to die. I mean, Judith shoots him, and it is explained that he has a bulletproof vest on, which is how he survived. But honestly, after seeing this dude survive a ridiculous fall down an elevator shaft, I would have just been okay if he just got up and carried on without even showing the bulletproof vest, because he literally can just survive anything. I don't really need an explanation at this point. It's like that really awful Nicolas Cage film, Con Air, when he's walking down a plane and just starts getting shot and just like walks it off. That's what he's like. Beta can do anything, and I don't really care. I'm kind of accepted that now, so didn't really need the bulletproof vest. Just show him getting up. Show him like healing and spitting the bullets out like Wolverine and X-Men for all I care now. I mean, the dude's just so insanely overpowered at this point, to be honest. I would literally don't really need an explanation as to how he keeps surviving things, because if he can survive the elevator shaft fall, he can survive anything. And going back to what I said at the start of this part of the video about this episode, about Laura's death, as I just mentioned, Beta is insanely overpowered, which is why it really frustrated me when Laura had him where she needed him, with the sort of the pike, whatever it was, up to his throat, and instead of slicing him open, she just says to Gamma, "Go find help," and then expects this dude who's like 7 foot just to stay there and just stand there and wait whilst help arrives. I mean, come on, what did she expect? She died really because of her own stupidity, and it was quite a gruesome death, seeing her head, like her just being picked up and slammed into the wall. But yeah, come on, Laura, what do you mean go get help? Just kill the dude. Silly girl. I mean, I don't think there's going to be many people crying over the fact that Laura's dead. She was never a major character, but I did like her, and mainly that's just because I thought she was hot, but there you go. And speaking of hot, the girl who plays Cindy from Oceanside, Sydney Park I think her name is, I followed her on Instagram. Wow, she is stunning. I'm aware I'm going incredibly off topic now, but yeah, she's hot. A lot of hot women on The Walking Dead. I don't even know why I'm talking about this now, so let's just go back to talking about the episode. And if you are thinking of following me on Instagram, there's not really much point. I don't post anything. I just use it to perv, really. At least I'm honest about it. You can probably hear that in the background now. It's really started raining badly. Right, so I think that might be the worst of the rain over or not. Nope. This is what it's like living in Britain. I'll carry on because I don't know how long it's going to keep raining for, the last few months or anything to go by. It could be a long time. So, I was going to say, before I move on to talking about the rest of the episode, I quickly want to mention how much I loved the long distance shot of Beta when he's going through Alexandria and slaughtering people in their houses. I just felt that that was a really good artistic shot. And I sound like a complete wanker saying that. Look, I'm not a guy who knows much about choreography or cinematography and stuff, you know, cameras and stuff like that. But I can appreciate when good art direction is in place. I sound like a right pretentious prick now. But yeah, I thought that was a really good shot. It reminded me of last season when Daryl was there with the axe waiting for the Whisperer to come through the white sheet, and both of these scenes to me could have just been something out of, you know, a horror film, and yeah, I really liked it. Now let's move on, because I'm clearly out of my depth talking about this stuff. I think Daryl put in a good shift this episode. I really liked how Norman Reedus was doing his best Rambo impression at the start of the episode, in the jungle, just hunting everyone down, and then I enjoyed his fight with Alpha, although the sort of blood effects on the screen were really bad. I mean, it's weird, as good as some of the costume design and set design is on The Walking Dead, I mean, the fungi, the walkers looked incredible, then you get really bad CG effects. It's like, you know, when the blood went down the screen after Negan hit the camera. It's just bad. Also, speaking of his fight with Alpha, I saw a post on The Walking Dead's Instagram page. See? I don't just use it for perving, which said something along the lines of, "You were worried, weren't you? Admit it, you were worried, weren't you?" And it had a picture of Daryl covered in blood, and as if to say, oh, you were worried he might die, and I really wasn't, to be honest. I know you're not going to kill Daryl off, especially in some kind of bloody like car mechanic place. So yeah, I mean, if you felt Daryl was going to die, then I guess, I don't know if that is that good. I don't know. I was going to say good for you. Good. Maybe it's good if you felt tension, a bit scared by it. But yeah, I don't think Daryl was in any danger. I don't think he's ever going to die, to be honest. He'll be the last person on the show. So yeah. Pull the other one, the Walking Dead Instagram page. Now, even though I knew that realistically neither Alpha or Daryl were going to die during this fight, it didn't mean I didn't enjoy it. In fact, I felt it was a lot better than some of the coming togethers between antagonist and protagonist that have happened in the past. I mean, think back to when Rick tried to hit Negan with the wrong end of a baseball bat, or when he confronted Negan on the stairs and he threw his hatchet at him, which missed, instead of just carrying the hatchet and chasing him up the stairs and chopping him up. So yeah, it was a lot better than some of the fights we've had between like the villain and the main character in past seasons. I also felt it was quite sad when Lydia arrived on the scene, and despite the fact that Alpha might have died, she still refused to let Lydia call her mum, and still said, no, you can't, you know, I've trained you not to do that, or some words to those effect. Yeah, which must have been quite upsetting for Lydia, because you would have felt that surely Alpha would have liked to make peace with her daughter, but no, she still, even in near death, she still didn't consider her a daughter. She still wouldn't let her guard down, which is ultimately, I think, one of the reasons why she chose to help Daryl instead. I don't think Alpha is ever going to change, really. She's always going to be Alpha and is never going to be Lydia's mum, and the truth is Lydia will find more love and compassion with strangers at Alexandria than she would her own blood, which is quite depressing, really. So before I end this video, I do have one minor complaint, and it may be that it's just something that I don't understand rather than it being an issue with the episode itself, but I just thought it was weird that we have a scene where Aaron insinuates that Dante dug a tunnel through a grave which connected to this RV in the middle of nowhere that Beta then used to go into Alexandria and rise up from the grave like that shitty Sega game Altered Beast. It's weird. I mean, how would have Dante have even done that? I know there are secret entries and exits to Alexandria that has been referenced before, so maybe it was just one of those, but again, he would have had to just find that, and yeah, it just felt like a weird way to get Beta inside the walls. I mean, I understand that even if Beta had unmasked himself and tried to sneak into Alexandria or walk through pretending to be someone else, it wouldn't really work just because of the size of the man. You would have known it was him, but it was a bit contrived, really, that he just happened to have this RV with a tunnel to Alexandria, and it's supposed to be explained by a throwaway line where Aaron just goes, oh, that was Dante, and you're supposed to just go, oh, right, yeah, that makes sense. He was busy digging a tunnel, was he? You know, instead of being a doctor on his time off, he was out digging a tunnel. Right, okay. So yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of just got to try not to think about, really, because I don't really have an explanation for it. If anyone else does, please let me know. So that's that for this video. As I said, mid-season premiere I didn't think was great. Episode 10 I felt was a lot better, even if there were a few stupid things about it. But overall, not a bad start to the second half of the season. So let me know your thoughts below. Did you enjoy these two episodes? Can you explain some of the things that didn't make much sense to me? And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the video, what you liked about these episodes, and I shall see you very soon. In fact, sooner than usual, because I'm filming the review to episode 11 straight after this. So I'll see you soon, after it's all edited and stuff, obviously. But anyway, bye.